The shot rang out like thunder across the saloon. Glass shattered. A woman screamed. Men ducked for cover, scrambling beneath weathered tables. All except one. Cole Westbrook stood unmoved, whiskey glass still pressed to his lips. His ice-blue eyes fixed on the barrel of a Remington revolver pointed at his chest. The gunman, dirty, drunk, and desperate, swayed slightly, his finger trembling against the trigger. "I said nobody cuts me off," the drover slurred, spittle flying from cracked lips. "Another bottle, or I redecorate these walls with your brains." Time slowed. Cole's gaze never wavered. The whiskey burned against his throat as he set the glass down with deliberate calm. 3 other men fanned out behind the drover, vultures waiting for the kill. "You missed," Cole said, voice like gravel scraped across iron. The drover's eyes widened in alcoholic confusion. "Wasn't aiming to kill. Not yet." What happened next occurred so rapidly that witnesses later disagreed on the sequence. Cole's silver Colt Navy appeared as if conjured from thin air, its ivory grip carved with an eagle catching the lamplight. 3 shots, precise, economical, lethal. The drover and 2 of his men collapsed before they could clear leather. The third managed to fire, his bullet splintering the bar inches from Cole's shoulder. Cole's 4th shot caught him center mass. The man stumbled backward, surprise etching his features before he crumpled to the sawdust-covered floor. 4 men, 4 bullets, 4 bodies. Silence blanketed the saloon, broken only by the creak of the ceiling fan and the distant piano that had never stopped playing. Cole holstered his weapon with the same unhurried efficiency with which he'd drawn it. The barkeep emerged from behind the counter, a weathered man with a cavalry mustache and eyes that had seen too much death to be shocked by more. Mason Holloway, former Texas Ranger, now proprietor of the Last Chance Saloon. "Westbrook," Mason acknowledged, pouring 2 fingers of whiskey. "Still quick." "Still alive," Cole responded, accepting the drink. "Those men carried Wells Fargo bounties," Mason noted, nodding toward the bodies now being dragged outside by nervous patrons. "300 each for the Wallace brothers, 500 for Jenkins there." Cole downed his whiskey. 1,400 reasons they shouldn't have drawn on me. The saloon gradually returned to life. Whispered conversations, the clink of glasses, the piano player's tempo increasing. Mason studied Cole's face, noting the new lines carved around his eyes, the silver threading his temples beneath his wide-brimmed hat. "Heard about Nathan," Mason said quietly. "My condolences." Something flickered across Cole's face, a spasm of grief quickly masked. "Didn't come for sympathy, Mason." "Why'd you come then?" "Been 3 years since Comanche Creek." Cole reached inside his duster, retrieving a folded telegram. "Sheriff Reed, Silver Springs, says there's trouble at Eagle Valley. Thought you might know something." Mason's face hardened. He unconsciously rubbed his right shoulder where a Comanche arrow had once pierced flesh and bone, ending his ranger career. Charles Monroe's land. What kind of trouble? "The deadly kind." Nathan was surveying there for the railroad before someone put a bullet in his back. "Nathan dead?" Mason's shock seemed genuine. "Hell, I remember when you taught that boy to shoot. Couldn't have been more than 10. Cole's mind flashed to sunlit afternoons behind their father's barn. Nathan's small hands struggling with the weight of their pa's revolver, Cole steadying his brother's aim. 12? He corrected softly. "After Ma and Pa died in the typhoid outbreak. I promised them I'd look after him," Cole continued, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "Some job I did." Mason poured another drink. What was Nathan into out at Eagle Valley? "Water, underground aquifer bigger than anyone's seen before. Nathan mapped it, said it could transform the whole territory." "Charles Monroe knew about it?" Cole nodded. "They were working together. Now Monroe's dead too. Official story is robbery gone wrong." "And you don't believe it?" "Same as Nathan. Bullet in the back." Cole's fingers tightened around his glass. Too convenient. The saloon doors burst open. A young man in a dust-covered Union Pacific uniform stumbled in, face pale despite the punishing sun outside. "Mr. Westbrook?" the boy gasped, eyes darting until they found Cole. "Telegraph for you, sir. Sheriff Reed said it couldn't wait." Cole took the yellow paper, his expression darkening with each word. When he finished, he crumpled it in his fist. "What is it?" Mason asked. "Monroe's daughter, Sophia." Cole's voice was deadly calm. Kane's men dragged her behind horses through Eagle Valley, tied her to a fence post to die under the sun. Mason's face drained of color. "Sophia Monroe? You know her?" "Know of her. Charles sent her east for schooling." Mason paused. "Kane forced her to marry him after Charles died, took control of the land." Cole stood, checking the load in his Colt. "Reed says she's pregnant." Mason was already reaching for his Winchester behind the bar. "I'll get my horse." Cole raised an eyebrow. "Your shoulder can handle a ride like that?" "Charles Monroe pulled an arrow out of me and nursed me back when I was left for dead." Mason's eyes held the steely determination that had made him a feared ranger. "I owe him. Besides, someone needs to watch your back." As they strapped gear to their horses outside, Mason nodded toward Cole's silver Colt. That was Nathan's gun. Cole's hand unconsciously moved to the weapon. "Found it with his belongings after they buried him. Figure it might have a say in who killed its owner." 3 days of hard riding brought them to the edges of Eagle Valley. The landscape changed here, less forgiving, more wild. As they made camp the third night, a figure materialized from the darkness. Cole's Colt appeared instantly in his hand. "Easy, friend," came a gravelly voice. A man stepped into the firelight, white-bearded, spectacled, wearing a battered Union Army surgeon's coat. Dr. James Murphy, former field surgeon, 4th Ohio Regiment. Cole lowered his weapon slightly. "What brings a surgeon to these parts, Doc?" Murphy's eyes narrowed. "Could ask you the same, Captain Westbrook. Last saw you at Shiloh, bullet in your leg." "You remember every man you patched up, Doc?" "Only the ones too stubborn to die." Murphy set down his medical bag. "Word reached me about a woman in trouble. Figured my services might be needed." Before dawn, they were joined by Hawkeye, an Apache scout whose people claimed ancestral rights to the valley's water. The warrior's dark eyes evaluated Cole carefully. "You hunt the shadow," Hawkeye stated, voice devoid of accent. "The shadow? Kane's enforcer. Kills with a whisper. Never misses with the Sharps rifle." Cole exchanged glances with Mason. A skilled marksman with a Sharps could kill from distances no revolver could touch. Another reason to move fast, Cole decided. Sophia Monroe may not have much time. They rode at first light, Hawkeye leading them along hidden game trails. By midday, they crested a hill overlooking a small valley. Through his spyglass, Cole spotted a distant figure tied to a fence post, honey-brown hair hanging limply around her face. "She's alive," Doc Murphy stated, with the confidence of a man who'd seen death in all its forms. "Dead bodies don't maintain that posture." Cole scanned the area. 4 guards, 2 at the main house, 2 patrolling. Mason checked his Winchester. "Like old times, then?" They separated, approaching from different directions. Cole moved with the precision of a predator, each step calculated. When the first shot rang out, Mason's Winchester dropping a guard near the barn, Cole was already sprinting toward Sophia. 2 more guards emerged from the house. Cole fired twice, dropping 1. The other took cover, returning fire that kicked up dirt at Cole's heels. From the ridge, Hawkeye's arrow found the man's chest with unerring accuracy. Cole reached Sophia as Mason provided covering fire against the 4th guard. Up close, her condition was worse than he'd feared. Bruised, sunburned, dried blood caking her split lip. But her eyes, hazel with flecks of gold, opened at his approach, showing a spirit that hadn't been broken. "Sophia Monroe?" Cole asked, already cutting her bonds with his knife. Her cracked lips parted with effort. "Who?" "Friends," Cole answered, catching her as the ropes gave way. "Sheriff Reed sent us." She collapsed against him, surprisingly light for her height. Cole could feel the slight swell of her pregnancy as he lifted her. Something protective and fierce awakened in him, a feeling he'd thought buried with Nathan. "Water," Doc Murphy ordered, appearing at his side. Cole held the canteen to Sophia's lips as the doctor examined her wounds. "We need to move," Mason warned, reloading his Winchester. Kane's men will have heard the shots. They retreated to a sheltered canyon where Doc could properly treat Sophia's injuries. As darkness fell, she regained enough strength to speak. "Thank you," she whispered, voice raw from dehydration. "Rest," Cole advised. "You're safe now." Her eyes found his in the firelight. "No one's safe while Kane lives." She struggled to sit up. "You need to know what you've stepped into." "Victor Kane," Cole said. "We know he killed your father to gain control of your land." "Not just land," Sophia corrected. "What's beneath it?" "The aquifer," Cole nodded. "Nathan discovered it." Recognition flashed across her face. "Nathan Westbrook, the surveyor?" Her gaze sharpened. "You're his brother." "Was," Cole answered, the word like ash in his mouth. Sophia's hand moved to her swollen belly, a protective gesture. "Kane will hunt us all. He needs what's in the caves." "What caves?" Mason asked. Before she could answer, Hawkeye appeared from the darkness. "Riders coming, many, following our trail." They moved through the night, Doc supporting Sophia on his horse. By dawn, they reached a trading post that Hawkeye claimed would offer sanctuary. As they approached, Cole sensed something wrong. "Too quiet," he murmured. "No smoke from the chimney." Mason nodded grimly. "Trap." The first shot came without warning, a heavy caliber round that splintered the tree trunk inches from Cole's head. Only one weapon made that distinctive sound, a Sharps rifle. "The shadow," Hawkeye hissed, diving for cover. More shots followed as they scrambled behind rocks and fallen trees. Cole returned fire, knowing his Colt was outranged, but hoping to buy time. Mason's Winchester found better success, forcing one of Kane's men to abandon his position. Through his spyglass, Cole spotted a figure on the ridge, a lean man with a Sharps rifle, face shadowed beneath a wide-brimmed hat. The shadow. The man shifted position, raising his rifle again. "Mason, down!" Cole shouted. Too late. The bullet caught Mason in the leg, sending him sprawling behind a boulder. Doc Murphy crawled to his side, medical bag already open. Cole aimed carefully, fired. The shadow's hat flew off, but the man himself seemed untouched. He disappeared behind the ridge. Minutes stretched into an hour of sporadic gunfire. Cole realized they were being pinned down, surrounded. The trading post remained their only chance. "We need to make a run for it," Cole decided. "I'll draw their fire. Mason, can you cover us?" Despite his wound, Mason nodded. "Just like Comanche Creek, I'll make it count." On 3. 1, 2. Before Cole could finish, a new volley of shots erupted, but not aimed at him. Kane's men were firing at the trading post. Return fire came from the windows. "Someone's fighting back," Doc observed. Using the distraction, they made a dash for the trading post's rear entrance. Once inside, they found 3 traders barricaded behind overturned tables and flour sacks. "Glad you joined the party," one called out. A grizzled man with a Sharps rifle of his own. "These boys been keeping us pinned since dawn." Cole positioned himself at a window. "How many out there?" "Dozen, maybe more. Kane himself is with them." Through a gap in the shutters, Cole spotted Kane, tall, well-dressed despite the wilderness setting, directing his men with the confidence of a military commander. The sight of him sent a cold fury through Cole's veins. The siege continued through the afternoon. As shadows lengthened, the gunfire dwindled. Cole sensed they were regrouping for a night attack. "We need to move Sophia before dark," he told Doc. "Trading post has a cellar?" The trader nodded. "Root cellar with a tunnel. Opens half-mile east near the creek." Hawkeye volunteered to create a diversion while they escaped. As the Apache slipped out, Cole turned to find Sophia standing in the doorway, leaning against the frame for support. "Kane knows about the tunnel," she warned, voice stronger than before. "The shadow will be waiting." "How can you be sure?" A bitter smile crossed her face. "Because Kane made me tell him every escape route from this valley. After 3 days without water, I would have told him anything." Cole saw the shame in her eyes, reached out to touch her shoulder. "No one holds out forever, Sophia. Not your fault. A single shot cracked the twilight. One of the traitors fell, a bullet hole neatly centered in his forehead. The shadow had found his range. Everyone down, Cole ordered. More shots followed, methodical, precise. The shadow was picking them off one by one. That cellar is our only chance, Mason grunted, pressing a bandage to his leg wound. We make a run for it now, while there's still some light. Cole nodded. I'll hold them off. Rest of you go. Like hell, Mason objected. We stick together. Someone has to buy time. Cole checked his ammunition, 6 shots left, plus Nathan's gun fully loaded. I'm the logical choice. Why you? Sophia demanded. Because I'm already dead, Cole answered simply. Have been since they put Nathan in the ground. Something flashed in Sophia's eyes. Anger? Determination? Your brother wouldn't want you throwing your life away. Before Cole could respond, the front door exploded inward. Kane's men rushed through the opening, guns blazing. Cole and Mason returned fire, dropping the first 2 through the door. The world narrowed to smoke and thunder and blood. Cole fired, reloaded, fired again. A bullet grazed his shoulder, another tore through his hat. He kept shooting, kept moving. Then silence fell. 4 of Kane's men lay dead. The others had retreated. But Mason was down, blood pooling beneath him from a fresh wound in his side. Get him to the cellar, Cole ordered Doc. Now! As they dragged Mason toward the cellar door, a new figure appeared in the shattered doorway. Tall, lean, dressed in black, a Sharps rifle held casually in one hand. The Shadow. Cole raised his Colt, finger tightening on the trigger. The Shadow made no move to raise his rifle. Hello, cousin, came a whispered voice that sent ice through Cole's veins. Adrian? The Shadow stepped fully into the light, revealing a face Cole knew as well as his own. Older, scarred, but unmistakable. Adrian Westbrook. Cole's cousin, supposedly killed at Chancellorsville 12 years earlier. You're dead, Cole breathed. Adrian's mouth twisted in what might have been a smile. So are you, if you don't drop that gun. Cole's mind reeled. Adrian, who'd grown up alongside him, and Nathan, who'd taught them both to track, who'd been like a brother after Uncle James died. Adrian, whose empty coffin they'd buried after Chancellorsville. Why? The word contained a lifetime of questions. War changes a man, opens his eyes. Adrian's voice remained a whisper. The result, Cole realized, of a throat wound that had nearly killed him. I learned loyalty to blood means nothing compared to loyalty to the winning side. And Kane is the winning side? Adrian shrugged. Kane, the railroad, whoever pays best. You helped kill Nathan. It wasn't a question. Business, not personal. Adrian's eyes, the same ice blue as Cole's own, showed no remorse. Samuel was in the wrong place, asked too many questions. Cole's finger tightened on the trigger. One shot to end it all. But something held him back. Memories of 3 boys running wild through Missouri summers, sharing dreams and secrets under starlit skies. Kane's looking for maps, Adrian continued. Nathan's maps of the aquifer. Where are they? Don't know what you're talking about. Adrian studied him, head tilted slightly. Nathan entrusted something to you, something worth killing for. A commotion outside saved Cole from answering. Gunfire erupted, but not directed at the trading post. New voices shouted commands. The Apache had returned, and they'd brought reinforcements. Adrian glanced toward the sound, then back to Cole. This isn't over, cousin. He backed toward the door. Blood calls to blood. Remember that when the time comes. He was gone before Cole could respond, melting into the shadows as gunfire intensified outside. Cole rushed to the others, finding them gathered around Mason in the cellar. The former ranger's face was gray with pain. How bad? Cole asked Doc. He'll live if we stop the bleeding soon. Sophia pointed to a trapdoor in the corner. The tunnel. It leads to the caves beneath Eagle Valley. Caves? Cole helped lift Mason. Where the aquifer flows. My father discovered them years ago. Sophia's eyes met his. And where Nathan hid the complete maps of the water system. Understanding dawned. That's what Kane wants. Control of the water means control of everything. Not just Kane, the railroad too. Sophia led them through the trapdoor into a narrow earthen tunnel. Howard Bishop, their representative, has been pressuring Kane to deliver results. They moved through darkness, Doc supporting Mason, Cole guarding the rear. After what seemed like miles, the tunnel widened, opening into a vast underground cavern. An underground river flowed across its floor, disappearing into darkness. "My God," Doc whispered, holding his lantern higher. "It's enormous." Stalactites hung from the ceiling like stone teeth. The air was cool, damp, alive with the sound of flowing water. This was Nathan's discovery, a resource that could transform the barren territory into fertile land. "The maps?" Cole asked Sophia. She pointed to the far end of the cavern. "Hidden chamber beyond that passage. Nathan sealed it after we completed the surveys." "We?" Cole's voice sharpened. Sophia's hand moved to her belly. "Nathan and I worked together for months. We became close." The implication hung between them. Before Cole could respond, voices echoed from a side passage. Lantern light approached. "Kane," Sophia whispered, fear edging her voice. They retreated to a shadowed alcove as figures entered the main cavern. Kane himself, 3 armed men, and engineers carrying surveying equipment and dynamite. "Set charges here, here, and here," Kane instructed, pointing to key junctions where water flowed. "Once detonated, the flow will divert entirely to our land, cutting off the Apache reservation and smaller farms. That will kill thousands of acres," one engineer protested. Kane's laugh was cold. "That's the point. Dead land means desperate sellers. The railroad buys cheap. We control who gets water." Cole's hand tightened around his Colt. One shot would end Kane's schemes forever. But before he could move, more figures appeared from another passage. Howard Bishop and 6 armed men wearing railroad company badges. "Kane," Bishop called, voice echoing. "We need to talk about your unauthorized activities." The tension in the cavern was palpable. Kane's men and Bishop's eyed each other warily, hands near weapons. "Perfect," Mason whispered, despite his pain. "Let them fight each other." Kane stepped forward, all smooth confidence. "Bishop, your timing is impeccable. We're about to secure the entire water system." "That wasn't our agreement," Bishop countered. "The railroad expects equal access, not your private control." "Plans change," Kane shrugged. "I've found a better offer from Southern Pacific." Bishop's face darkened. "That would be most unwise." As the confrontation escalated, Cole formulated a plan. "Mason, can you create a distraction if needed?" Despite his wound, Mason nodded grimly. "One last ride." "Doc, stay with him and Sophia. I'm going for those maps." "I'm coming with you," Sophia insisted. "You're injured and pregnant," Cole objected. "And I'm the only one who knows exactly where Nathan hid them." There was no time to argue. As Kane and Bishop's confrontation grew heated, Cole and Sophia slipped along the cavern wall toward the hidden passage. They were halfway there when a shot rang out. One of Kane's men fell. Bishop's men drew weapons. Chaos erupted, gunfire echoing deafeningly in the confined space. Cole pulled Sophia behind a stone column as bullets ricocheted around them. Mason and Doc had taken cover behind a boulder. Mason's Winchester adding to the confusion as he fired at both sides. "Now's our chance," Cole urged, pulling Sophia toward the passage. They reached it unnoticed, ducking into a narrow tunnel that twisted deeper into the earth. Sophia led with surprising strength, stopping finally before what appeared to be solid rock. "Help me," she instructed, pushing against a specific section. The stone moved, revealing a small chamber beyond. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth and sealed in a metal box, lay Nathan's maps and documents. "He created a system that would distribute water fairly," Sophia explained as Cole examined the detailed drawings. "No single entity could control it all." Cole recognized his brother's precise handwriting, his innovative engineering. Pride mixed with grief. This is what got him killed. "And what can save thousands?" Sophia added softly. A shadow fell across the entrance. They turned to find Adrian standing there, Sharp's rifle aimed at Cole's chest. "I knew you'd lead me to them," Adrian whispered. "Family's so predictable." Cole stepped in front of Sophia. "It's over, Adrian. Bishop and Kane are tearing each other apart out there. And I'll be the last man standing, with those maps." Adrian's finger tightened on the trigger. "Nothing personal, cousin." "It's always been personal," Cole replied, "since you betrayed everything our family stood for." Something flickered in Adrian's eyes. Regret, perhaps, or merely calculation. In that moment of hesitation, a shot rang out. Adrian staggered, blood blooming across his shoulder. Behind him stood Mason, leaning heavily against the wall, revolver smoking in his hand. "Always watch your back," Mason grunted. Adrian recovered quickly. Raising his rifle toward Mason, Cole lunged forward, tackling his cousin. They crashed together, wrestling for the weapon. Years of shared childhood didn't matter now, only survival. Adrian's wound hampered him, but desperation lent him strength. The rifle discharged, the bullet tearing into the ceiling. Stone fragments rained down as they struggled. "Nathan begged for mercy," Adrian hissed, hoping to distract Cole. Cried like a child at the end. White-hot fury blazed through Cole. His fist connected with Adrian's jaw, sending him staggering back. Cole drew Nathan's silver Colt. "Liar," Cole snarled. "Nathan died facing his killer, just like you will." Adrian smiled, blood staining his teeth. "You won't shoot me. Blood calls to blood." Cole's finger hesitated on the trigger. In that moment, Adrian drew a hidden derringer from his sleeve. A shot echoed. Adrian looked down in surprise at the red stains spreading across his chest, not from Cole's gun, but from Sophia's. She stood with a small revolver Cole hadn't realized she possessed. "For Nathan," she said simply. Adrian's eyes found Cole's one last time. "Should have known," he whispered. "Westbrooks always were, too stubborn to die right." He collapsed, the light fading from his eyes. The cavern shook as explosions rocked the main chamber. Kane had detonated some of the charges. Water roared as passages collapsed. "We need to get out," Mason shouted over the din. They raced back toward the main cavern, finding it transformed into chaos. Water gushed from fractured walls as men fought to escape. Bishop lay dead near the main passage. Of Kane, there was no sign. "This way." Hawkeye appeared, gesturing toward a side tunnel. "The water rises quickly." They followed, Cole supporting Mason, while Doc helped Sophia. Behind them, the cavern continued to collapse as water sought new channels. After what seemed like hours, they emerged into sunlight on a hillside overlooking Eagle Valley. Below them, springs had burst through the ground where none had existed before, creating impromptu waterfalls and streams. "Kane's charges changed the underground channels," Sophia observed. "But he couldn't destroy the aquifer itself." "Where is Kane?" Cole asked Hawkeye. The Apache pointed to a body being carried away by the new river that had burst from the hillside. The water claimed him. Justice, of a sort. 3 weeks later, Cole stood before the territorial governor as the older man reviewed Nathan's maps and documentation. "Remarkable engineering," Governor Hartwell commented. "Your brother designed a system that could provide water for generations." Cole nodded. Nathan believed water belongs to everyone, not just those with money or guns. A noble sentiment, but difficult to implement in these territories. The governor studied Cole. Unless there's someone willing to enforce it. Meaning? Eagle Valley needs a new marshal, someone with the authority and reputation to ensure this water commission functions as designed. Hartwell produced a silver star. "Someone like you, Westbrook." Cole stared at the badge. For years he'd lived outside the law, hunting men for money. The irony wasn't lost on him. What about Kane's men? The railroad? The railroad's board of directors has disavowed Bishop's actions. They'll accept the commission's authority, provided they receive fair water allocation. Hartwell smiled thinly. Amazing how reasonable men become when faced with federal investigation. Outside the governor's office, Sophia waited with Doc Murphy and Mason, the latter leaning on a cane as his wounds healed. "Well?" Mason asked, eyeing the badge in Cole's hand. "Seems Eagle Valley has a new marshal." Cole pinned the star to his vest. "Could use a deputy, if you're interested." Mason grinned. "Someone needs to watch your back." Doc Murphy stroked his beard thoughtfully. "Valley could use a physician too. Tired of patching bullet holes in you two." As sunset painted the mountains gold, Cole stood on a hill overlooking Eagle Valley. Below, workers were already implementing Nathan's water distribution system. New settlers had arrived, drawn by news of fair water rights protected by territorial law. Sophia joined him, her pregnancy now showing clearly. "Nathan would be proud," she said softly, "of all this. Of you." Cole's hand moved unconsciously to the silver star. "I'm not him, Sophia. Never will be." "I know." Her hand found his, "but you're carrying on what he started, protecting what matters." Cole thought of all he'd lost. His parents to disease, Nathan to murder, even Adrian to greed and betrayal. But standing here, he felt something unexpected. Purpose. Not vengeance, but something constructive. A legacy worthy of the Westbrook name. His hand dropped to Nathan's silver Colt. "Kane's men are still out there, others who'll try to control the water." "And you'll be waiting," Sophia said with quiet confidence. Cole gazed across the valley that had claimed so much blood. His valley now, his responsibility. "Yes," he answered, voice firm with resolve. "I'll be waiting."